baby. Mountain West. Navarez statement. Everybody wants to talk about the Mountain West. Let's do it. So the statement comes out today, Steve, and
Yes.
you said you didn't get to read it.
Nope. But
And I'm not going to read it verbatim. I think our producer has it to put it up. He's been waiting for us to get to the next damn topic.
Yeah.
So he has something to do.
Right.
So we finally give him something to do. The Mountain West statement here. Navarez comes out today. Dare I say 2 days after our UNLV drop.
Right.
Not that we have anything to do with this, but, whatever.
And she says there's a lot of speculation.
There's a lot of
on the media
speculation
outlets,
out there.
yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of speculation out there. But she pops up the Mountain West pops up a statement from Nevarez, and I have an opinion on this, Steve, and I need to hear your opinion.
Okay.
Because the Mountain West people say, awesome statement, leadership, and I said this on X. This is showing leadership, showing where things are at. And of course I get PAC people saying, wow, this is very reminiscent of about 18 months ago, or whatever the hell it's been, 24 months, what came out from the PAC about the sky's not falling, everything's okay, everybody calmed down when Colorado had left, and everybody knows what happened after that. So a lot of PAC people, and rightfully so, I'm not knocking their comments to me. I get what they went through. Oregon State and Washington State fans, I totally understand what you went through when that all blew up. So I'm not dismissing that, and I haven't dismissed it on X because I get it. But what I will say is there's specific details in this statement from Nevarez, and it's not just a everything's okay, people, nothing to see here. She is providing facts, dates, specifics to things. And so, to me, this is much more of a stronger statement from the Mountain West, Gloria Nevarez, than what you had seen 18 months ago from the PAC. Now, that doesn't mean the PAC people aren't correct and that, this is done out of desperation. But I want to get into some things. The first thing I want to say here, Steve, and it's something that I have been asking about and trying to get clarity on for a while, and that is the grant of rights. And I said on our episode that dropped on Monday regarding UNLV, I had not received any confirmation that the grant of rights was signed and completed. She says in this that it is signed and completed. And yes, to me, that is a big deal. The MOU was done as this is what we're going to promise you. We're going to get to a grant of rights. We're going to get to a long-form agreement. And I will also say I was told yesterday that this grant of rights was completed. So I didn't get that out on X. I told people yesterday I was I just said, hey, there's a lot going on right now. I had gotten this information, and sure enough, less than 24 hours later, they produced this document saying, yeah, we've got grant of rights. What does that mean and what doesn't that mean? What it means is they've gone a step further than the MOU in that they have a grant of rights from the 7 members. And she was clear on this, that they received it from the 7 members. So they're including Hawaii in this, who's now a full member, but at the time, when they did the MOU, they were not. Including Hawaii in this. That would mean UNLV has signed the grant of rights. We all know that the grant of rights can be litigated. It's not an end-all, be-all. That is not what that means. But it's absolutely another step in the process of solidifying the Mountain West membership. So that was the biggest takeaway for me, was when I saw that she's talking about a grant of rights has been approved by and signed by the 7 members. To me, that's huge. That's a real data point. That is not what the PAC said. Everything's going to be okay. No, she's telling us this is, I don't want to say finalized. This has been signed, okay? The other thing that she talks about, she goes on to talk about the immediate rights agreement. Obviously, anybody that's following this knows they're in that process. She says what she can say. She can't say a whole lot about that. But she really talks about the commitment of these members to the Mountain West. So as you know, Steve, I moved UNLV from an unlikely to a possible on Monday. And I have people come ask me immediately, JY, are you moving them back to unlikely? My answer to that is not yet. I'm going to leave them as possible. And here's why. Because nothing is ever off the table. While I appreciate that we know they've signed a grant of rights, I am also very confident in the sources that I have telling me there's ongoing discussions with the PAC. Now, could that be because UNLV is doing everything they can from a fiduciary responsibility to make sure they're making the right decision? Absolutely. That, as people say, the easiest answer is usually the right answer. Well, that's the easiest answer, right? They're doing their fiduciary responsibility. So, and at the same time, what has changed between now and when UNLV originally agreed to the MOU? Nothing has changed. Nothing. Unless the PAC is feeding them information that they know to be factual, which very well could be in terms of media value. And that's why I was very focused on media value on Monday's episode, because that could potentially be the item that changes. I don't think the delta between media values is enough based on the guaranteed money that they're going to be getting, the exit fee costs, and the exit fees to leave the conference if they get a P4 invite. Again, everything I said on Monday, I don't think it's enough for them to necessarily leave the Mountain West, but it could happen. I'm not taking it off the table. So I'm leaving it as probable. Is it less probable than it was on Monday when we dropped that episode? Yeah, based on this statement, it's less probable. But I don't think it's unlikely. It's still probable. And I was thinking about this, Steve. In terms of unlikely to me is like a 10% or less chance. People ask you about percentages. When you hear JY say unlikely, I'm talking 10% or less. Probable is a pretty large range. I'm talking 80 to 20% or 80 to 10% is probable, right? It's pretty broad. When you hear Texas State in negotiations, I got them at 90%. I think they're very likely to be a member of the PAC, but my probable range is pretty damn broad, and I'm not going to slice it into chunks. It is what it is.
Right.
So, Steve, I know you didn't get to read the press release that they put out. I kind of gave you the overview of it. What are your thoughts?
So first of all, I think both of us have been very clear that we have been impressed with Gloria Nevarez's leadership of the Mountain West through this entire process. I think she's made the best of a difficult situation, tried to navigate it. Once the Pac-12 exploded, that created instability in the West, and she had to navigate that.
Yeah.
And I think she's done the best that she could. And this statement, I get it why she's doing this statement, especially putting out that information about the grant of rights.
Yeah.
Because it lends some stability to the situation, at least the public conversation about this. But for me, there's that old saying about actions speak louder than words.
Right.
So what are the actions that have happened so far? The Mountain West and Gloria of the Mountain West, they've gone and they've added the pieces that they need to add. Getting NIU, I think, was huge.
Yes.
In solidifying this, they were able to make concessions, or however you want to, financial commitments to UNLV, Air Force, to keep them in the fold, at least for now.
Yeah.
Adding, UTEP, bringing in, was it Grand Canyon?
Yes.
And UC Davis for basketball, making Hawaii a permanent member. All of those things, those were actions that those speak so much louder.
Right.
Because those are things that have added stability to the conference, added viability, viability or survivability, whatever you want to call it, and getting them to the point. Now, the next action is going to be closing a deal with a media partner or multiple media partners. So that, to me, is going to be so much bigger than what a statement can do. So I think she's done everything that she can. I think the statement, it's good, it's positive, but it's nothing compared to the actions that she's already taken to ensure the survivability, the viability of the conference. And the next big thing is the media deals. UNLV, they didn't, when they decided to stay in the Mountain West, they didn't say, we don't have any interest in going to the PAC. They said, the Mountain West is the best financial deal for us. So if something were to go forward, if the PAC brings in Texas State, like you said, and they get a media deal, and there's more of a difference between the two media deals, between the Pac-10 and the Pac and the Mountain West than you're anticipating, and you look at 4 or 5 years of that builds and builds and builds, then maybe you have a situation where UNLV moves. But for now, she's done everything she can to keep them in the fold.
Right.
Made them a good deal. Apparently, they've now signed the grant of rights, which is it's good. I mean, how much does a grant of rights mean anymore? Who knows?
Yeah, right.
Ask Florida State and the Supreme Court of State of Florida.
Right.
But she's done everything that she can, and that's what she's going to have to continue to do. And I think that she's doing that.
Yeah.
She's doing. I don't see any other thing that she could have done to keep this conference together and to improve them than she's already done.
I agree.
And so this statement is just another part of that. I think a smaller part. You're the Mountain West guy, you're the West Coast guy, but I kind of see the interactions on Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand. There's always got to be this pissing contest between Pac schools, Mountain West schools, comparing, my statement to your statement,
right.
my team to your teams. They're on different courses now. They've taken different paths. They're looking for different things. And yes, there is maybe 1 or 2 schools, whether it's UNLV in Nevada or UNLV in some other school, that may end up going from one to the other. But for the most part, they're looking at different schools. They're on different paths.
They are.
They're doing their own thing, and I don't understand what the continued obsession is. And again, it's emotional, but it's not helpful. The continued obsession of the fan bases to point fingers at each other, compare to each other, have these pissing contests, because if you just look at what the Mountain West is doing, they were dealt a certain hand of cards, and they can't change that.
Right.
But if you look what they've done everything that they can to remain viable and to remain a good conference that can go and get a media deal. In the Pac, they're doing their thing to be what they want to be. They have different goals. So that's just kind of my thoughts overall. And again, you've coined the phrase before, in Gloria we trust.
Yes.
I give her at least an A-, and maybe up to an A+. She might be able to move up to. I like where it's headed. I love that NIU edition.
I agree.
I would still like to see them add Tarleton State, but I trust her judgment. We don't know what all those factors are. But I think things are moving well for the Mountain West. But the next thing is going to be that media. That's the next deliverable.
Yes.
That media contract. Let's see what they can go ahead and get.
Yeah, and at this point, I think all eyes are on the Pac. They're not on the Mountain West. The Mountain West has done what they're going to do. They've added schools. They're I hate to say it this way, they're a conference.
Right.
The Pac is still waiting to add that 8th member to make them an official conference, and they're going to do it. There's no doubt in my mind they're not. That's not going to happen. But to your point of they're headed into. Their focus is on 2 different things.
Yes.
Their targets are 2 different types of schools. That's 100% accurate.
Right.
And actually, it benefits both entities that they're not
generally fighting over.
Absolutely.
A lot of things,
So, Mario says Gloria Nevarez must listen to the Big Mountain. That would be very flattering if that was the case. Not so sure it is.
We've been trying to have, so if she is listening, please come on our show. We'd love to have you on. We'd love to do an interview. We've done a lot of great interviews.
You're begging.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kevin says it was executed, not signed. Executed is signed. And I deal with this a lot. Executing a contract is signing. That is when a contract is executed when it's signed. So it's the same. It's the same thing. Executed means it was signed. So just I don't think that's an issue whatsoever.